Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society, bringing you our nightly update on the tropics across the world. And we've got some very good news to report for Invest 91L in the Atlantic Basin tonight. As we see here of the 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time outlook, the National Hurricane Center currently has Invest 91 down to 20% chance of development. The wave will still be heading in a westerly direction, and the folks in the Lesser Antilles, just keep an eye on this one. Doesn't look like that it is going to get itself together. The dry air won this battle and won this battle pretty decisively. And as you can see here, expected to move generally westward at 10 to 15 miles an hour. We've heard this before. Hopefully it actually gets out of the basin, but again, 20% chance of development. If we look at a satellite view of where this thing is, do you want to guess where it's at? Because it is pretty much gone at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if the National Hurricane Center, if it keeps going like this, removes it from the board altogether, because it is just completely unable to produce any type of convective activity at all. So it's there, but if we take a look at the models, this is the Euro legacy. As you can see, going out 10 days, we don't have much at all. Got a little bit of a signal here of a non-tropical low pressure developing off the west coast of Florida. Could end up running along the trough, increasing the rainfall chances there for southern Florida. But going through at least the next 7 days, look here, we don't have hardly anything at all, folks. So it's a very rare and uncommon time to be right in the middle of peak hurricane season, and we're looking at what we're looking at. It doesn't happen very often, and I'm very thankful that this year happens to be one of those years. If we take a look at the Euro AI, now the Euro AI has a couple little spots here. If we look 96 hours getting into about 120 hours, but again, it's only those three. So 6% chance on that. I really wouldn't put my money on that. That's certain. But that wave does, just keep an eye on it. That's all I ask. We will definitely be watching everything across the basin, but just, if you would please keep an eye on that one if you're down there in the Lesser Antilles. Now, if we look at the GEFS, this is a little different. So I'm going to drop this back to day 7. And you notice we don't really have much. We've got the little scratchy signals out here into the main development region. But if I get to day 10, by the time I get to day 10, I've got a couple interesting features that I'd like to highlight. One right here. And that, if you notice, got a little cluster of shower and thunderstorm activity right here. And though it's embedded within some dry, stable air, it is still being able to produce shower and thunderstorm activity. And I'm not saying that that is the one, but something similar to what we're looking at here could be next week, maybe. But the trough is still most likely going to be there. The boundary will likely be there, and we wouldn't have to worry too much regarding that feature as far as threats are concerned. Just maybe a little bit of activity there for Bermuda. The other spot that I'd like to point out is this right here. So the GFS is calling for the development of a Central American gyre come next week. And that is possible. Now, a lot of that energy looks to potentially dispel off here into portions of the Eastern Pacific, but anytime we get a signal of a Central American gyre potential, it demands watching. Now, if we compare all this with the Google DeepMind, and the Google DeepMind this year has been performing phenomenally well. Uh, Much higher expectations on an or much higher than my expectations for what we had going in for a debuting model. It's been performing very, very well. So if we run the Google DeepMind across the Atlantic Basin, you see I'm 3 days out. We're 72 hours. We don't even have a dot. And, like this is right here at day 4. This is the climatological peak of hurricane season for the Atlantic Basin. That is the day. And as you can see, we've got a couple things, maybe with a new emerging wave coming off the coast of Africa. But as you can see, the Google DeepMind does show maybe a little something trying to get itself going. Out here into the Eastern Pacific, we've got a very notable cluster of development potential out here. So right now, if I continue to run this forward, as you can see, maybe a little bit of a blip out here into La La Land, out 12 days into the southwestern portions of the Gulf of Mexico. But if you also look at the same time, we've got areas down here into the Eastern Pacific. So it's just something that we're going to have to continue to monitor. Again, we're in the middle of peak hurricane season, and it's kind of shocking that we're looking at what we're looking at tonight. Now, if we come and look at our 850 millibar vorticity, now we've got the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. This is looking for areas of spin approximately 1 mile above the ocean surface. Now, as we run this forward, we will notice that here, 48 hours, we do have a little area of rotation out here into the Gulf of Mexico. Again, not very strong, but would definitely just be an area that's going to create shower and thunderstorm activity, increased shower and thunderstorm activity. Now, here we are 5 days out. We really don't have much. One little seedling down here that's not really doing anything on the Euro here at 120 hours. Our new wave has emerged from the African coastline on the GFS and the Euro. And as we continue to run this forward, as you could see, we don't really have much at all except for the GFS. Now, what the GFS is doing is trying to develop a Central American gyre. As you can see, the Euro has very, very weak winds out here over Central America. Does have a wind gap event here at the Isthmus of Tehuantepec coming in. Let me highlight that. That would be coming in right here, down from the Gulf of Mexico into the eastern portions of the Pacific. But what we're missing is the winds coming back like this. We've got the winds here. We've got the winds here. But we're missing that component as far as what the Euro is calling for. The GFS, on the other hand, has all 4 components present. You've got the winds here, and then you've got the winds there. The low pressure with the trough and the frontal boundary that is dragging through, we get an area of low pressure that develops along in this region and then just kind of tries to pull up and draw through. But as I'm going to show you here in the subsequent models, by the time, if that were to materialize, it's not going to like the environment that it's sitting in. And that's why, even if we look at it here at an area of spin, a gyre that ends up being cut off and, controlled by a high pressure area and running along the northern portions of the Gulf Coast, it's not really much more than just a giant conglomerate of rain, just a huge rainmaker at that point. But being that we're this far out, that's probably going to change tomorrow. So we'll check back with it. Now we have our 500 millibar relative humidity on the top, our 700 millibar humidity on the bottom. We have the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. The 500 millibar level represents 3 to 3.5 miles above the ocean surface. Our 700 millibar level represents approximately 2 miles above the ocean surface. So our browns denote dry air, our greens denote moist, a moist environment. Look at the dry air that is sitting out over, there we go, sitting out in front of where 91L is, on top of where 91L is. I mean, pretty much everything from about 12 degrees northward there in the Atlantic Basin has some sort, if not extreme, levels of dry air. We also have another area, another kind of burst or plume of dry air that is now approaching 91L from the east. So not only was it already contending with the one to the west, it's fixing to deal with a new one. And that's one of the reasons why the National Hurricane Center is like, nah, we're going to really, really lower the development chances here. And there is a little bit of shear. I can show that to everybody, but it's not, it's the dry air that's winning. That's the big culprit. Now, as we get out to 7 days, though, we do have a signal from the Euro denoting a well-defined wave coming off of the African mainland there. A little bit more moisture to work with at the 700 millibar level, and though it is trying to basically pinwheel in a bunch of dry air at the mid-level, we'll have to wait and see. The GFS, on the other hand, has this wave coming off, but as you could see, it is in a very moist environment compared to what we have with the Euro. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what that environment looks like this time next week. Now, as we continue to run this forward, though, and we get it out to 10 days, if we remember our wave, and well-defined wave that came off of the African mainland, as you could see there. Here it is, located on the Euro, but dry air has significantly impacted it. The GFS leaves a little bit more of a moist environment, although we do have sections and areas of dry air here at the 500 millibar level that would be, potentially mitigating factors for development. So all in all, and I'm relatively pleased, shocked, and pretty surprised at what we're looking at here for the basin. On September the 6th, this is nice. I like this. Now, what we have here is our wind shear model. We've got the Euro on the left, the GFS on the right. And this denotes winds between 5,000 and 40,000 feet and how they change with height and their speeds and everything. So as we continue to run this forward, we will note that here 48 hours getting out to 72 hours do have a little bit of shear, kind of leading in to portions of the Lesser Antilles. So even if that wave were to try to get itself organized and pull itself into this region, it is going to potentially end up with even more of a hostile environment as it progresses along. If we continue to run this out to day 7, now this is where things get interesting because we noted that the GFS was really starting to get a Central American gyre going, and potentially even, we'll take it back to day 6. As you could see, the GFS has a very, very potent upper level trough coming in. The Euro has, again, a very potent trough coming in. And we've got wind shear here from the Euro across the basin and a little bit of wind shear, but the wind shear with the GFS does this number and not this number with the euro. So it is a little bit of a difference because this bit of shear, it wouldn't necessarily promote a Central American gyre. This, on the other hand, with the GFS, would start to get an area of low pressure. Just because you've got this rotating around this way. And as I run this forward, you will see that an area, then we know that there on the GFS, we've got some little area of low pressure along the trough to where we get an elongated low here, and then it transitions its energy up to along the trough where we get another area of low pressure, and then it just turns into this big spirally mess. The euro, on the other hand, does not agree at all. Wants to dispel the energy off into the Eastern Pacific. So something to monitor, something to watch. It's that time of year. Maybe CAG, maybe not. Our rainfall for our folks here in southern Florida due to the stalled out frontal boundary. As you could see, and even extreme coastal Carolina out here into the Outer Banks, potentially up to 5 inches over the next week. Southern Florida, you're going to get it too. We've got the official forecast here on the right with the Weather Prediction Center and the NOAA blend of models here on the left, just to show kind of what the models are thinking and what the official forecast is. I can push the model or the NOAA blend of models out 10 days, and as you can see, it is forecast to maintain with this similar amount or this similar pattern. And we know that some of the models do show an area of low pressure here, especially with the GFS out here into the Gulf. So just something to watch. Our nightly look at our MJO currently rolling into phase 2. Looks like it is going to amplify it into phase 2, maybe roll into phase 3. Then, right now in the long range forecast to collapse and then rebuild back out here over phase 8, which would be Eastern Pacific, potentially Gulf of Mexico area, that way. The end of these two colored lines here, green and blue, go all the way out to September 20th. So this is a 2-week forecast. On Earth Null, there is our suspect area, Invest 91L. We also have another area of vorticity off to its west. And as you can see, it tried to do something. It's a very shallow system. The winds at the 700 millibar level are a lot stronger than what they are at the 500 millibar level. So there is a little bit of shear associated with that. And then also a little change in direction and height as well. But that pales into comparison what we have here at the 700 millibar level for dry air. And as you can see, everything behind that, all of this, I can shut the winds off. All of this is headed that direction. And as you can see, where our area of spin is, there's not a lot of moisture in and around this area 2 miles above the ocean surface. If we come up even higher, it's worse. And it's this that would kill it even if it were to try to get anything organized. The moment a low pressure would come in, it's going to start to draw. So due to the fact that this is spinning like this, like that, you can see the tail being drawn in right there. And it's stayed steady. And you've got this coming in from the northwest or the northeast. It's done, pretty much. Still going to keep an eye on it. Still would recommend folks to keep an eye on it. But otherwise than that, pretty good news to report. Don't forget, we're still in the peak of hurricane season. We don't have a lot, but it could occur. And to reinforce that point, right here, you can't get much closer to the peak. I like what we see, but keep in mind that we still got a lot of the season to go. All right, jumping out into, let me check. Let me see. Let's see. What's going on? Uh-oh, talking about Miss Kylie being sick. Yeah, Miss Kylie's got a cold. But it's college school season, so I would imagine they pass around colds like just any other normal thing. That it's school. You know, any parent knows the moment that school season starts, sicknesses are right behind it. You get the congregation and of a bunch of children together, and voila, it starts passing around. It's you start playing hot potato with that damn thing. I don't want it. You take it. So, real quick, looking at the Eastern Pacific tonight, as you can see, we do have an area of low pressure developing right there. Now, just to show everybody, we'll slide over here. We're at the surface. We do have a little bit of a surface feature, but if we run it forward 24 hours, off into land it goes. Right now, it is primarily a mid-level feature, as you can see here. That's what we're looking at on satellite. The little weak surface feature is dragging way behind it. But that is going to eventually move off into parts of the Eastern Pacific. This is going to have to be monitored later on. But we do have a highlighted area of interest out here with disturbance number 1. Currently has a 0% chance of development in the next 48 hours and a 20% chance of development over the next 7 days. We also have Hurricane Kiko. Is still a major hurricane, still Category 3, has come down a little bit from the Cat 4 status that it had earlier today, but as you can see, a very beautiful and gorgeous looking specimen. I wish it was centered into the middle of the frame here from Nesdis, because I get lost in just watching the rotational features here into the center of the eye. The closer I can get to this, the better it is. I could sit there and stare at that stuff all day long. But as you can see, a very, very, picturesque hurricane. Quite formidable. And if we look at it on the long wave, as you could see, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And we'll have to see exactly what occurs as we get into the overnight hours. It has, it did achieve some annular structure, and that is going to help it maintain a little bit more strength, a little bit more intensity, but it does look like that the core of this is going to avoid direct impact with the Hawaiian Islands. So currently, we're at 15.1 north, 139.7 west, approximately 1,065 miles east-southeast of Hilo, Hawaii, about 1,265 miles east-southeast of Honolulu, Hawaii. This is the wrong advisory. Why did that not update? Okay, yeah. Did this? Oh, it's back to 140. I thought it was 120. Wait a minute. This is the 5th. Why am I hitting refresh and not getting anything? I know this is incorrect. Why is that the 5th? Yeah, we're at 120. Wow, that was really weird. Oh, I guess refresh don't work too well. And we're moving west-northwest at 12 miles an hour with a minimum central pressure of 954 millibars. There are currently no coastal watches or warnings in effect, but interest in Hawaiian Islands should monitor this. Right now, our hazards affecting land are surf-related, so I know the surfers out there are going to have a blast, but please, folks, exercise precautions if going out to the waters where the surf is going to be. Check with your local officials if the surf's going to be high. As we could see here, looking at its forecast track, it has shifted quite a bit to the north. Now, none of the Hawaiian Islands are within the cone of uncertainty, but please keep in mind that it is still only 2/3 of the time that the storms track through the cone of uncertainty. Sometimes it could slip outside the cone of uncertainty. So, and if it runs the southern part of this track, which means that it would be a little bit weaker, but it could be a little bit closer. So just for now, let's keep a monitor on this and keep an eye on your National Weather Service office, if you would, please. Looking at the discussion, we're not going to go really too overly in depth with this. One thing that I wanted to show, where is it? I know it was the latest forecast track lies slightly to the right of the previous NHC's forecast and represents a blend between that solution and the consensus aids. So it is still continuing to go a little and further off to the north, being that it's just holding together with more of its this isn't even the right thing. What the hell? Now, I know that it said that it was moving to the right. Let me find it again. Let's see here. There it is. Kiko has moved a little to the right during the past few hours. I knew that I wasn't losing my mind. Well, I gotta check over the way that this, hitting refresh obviously didn't do anything. I'm just gonna have to reset all my tabs again. And looking at the intensification, still maintains major hurricane status through the next 12 hours, and then a slow rate of weakening, 72 hours, as you could see here. We're still at 65 miles an hour. If we come 72 hours ahead, we're still in this range at about 65. So something to keep an eye on, something to keep a watch on. It is going to maintain a little bit more intensity and strength due to its annular structure. And when it breaks down, it will definitely begin to rapidly weaken. As we could see here, noted with the multi-model diagnostic, we have a deep layer shear. We've got a massive increase in our wind shear. As it is on approach, we have a slight reduction in our sea surface temperatures here as it is on approach, and a reduction in mid-level relative humidity on approach, which then results in significant weakening of the storm. The big player here would be our deep layer wind shear. This is very, very strong. You're talking about 30, 40 knots. That's enough to rip the storm apart. So as long as what we're looking at, and the stronger it stays, the more north it's going to go. The weaker it gets, the more west it's going to travel. It's kind of a very similar situation a lot with our Atlantic hurricanes. Please keep in mind, just keep a watch here on the National Weather Service office. As you could see, Kiko is forecast to approach, and then they automatically take you over there. But you can get your local forecast and stuff like that. As you can see, maybe an increased chance of rain as this gets near the islands themselves. And from my understanding, they need the rain out there. So hopefully it turns out well. Looking real quick at the models, all of these are out 10 days. This is the Euro Legacy. As you can see, we have the potential for development here off the southwestern coast of Mexico, and then Kiko's modeling there. And as you can see, maybe if this thing holds together, it may find a better environment in which to intensify in off to the north and to the west of Hawaii, if it can, by some chance, hold together. And at least having an annular structure to start makes that possible. And as you can see here with the Euro AI, very small chance, but a possibility, and a nice cluster again here off the southwestern coast of Mexico, south of the Baja Peninsula. If we compare that all with the GEFS shows the potential for this to maybe make it through and then succumb to troughing as it pulls further and further to the north. But we don't have as much of a signal on the GEFS as we do with the Euro, and that being because some of that energy for the GFS is back here as to where, and in this region, and not getting out here like the Euro has. So the Euro keeps everything just pretty much flowing along. GFS wants to back everything up. Now, jumping out to the Western Pacific, we have Tapa, tropical storm, 22W. And this one's not messing around. As you can see, currently approximately 40 knots, is forecast to intensify and move into the southwestern portions of China, bringing even more flooding rain to the region. Not that they needed it, but Mother Nature really didn't care what they needed. I would have shown a satellite view on this this evening, but I'm afraid that it would have caused epileptic issues because it kept switching over from Himawari to Meteostat, and it kept bouncing back and forth, switching different things, and it was honestly, it looked like somebody just would have grabbed your phone or your monitor and just shook it side to side. And I was like, no, we're not going to show that, but it does look interesting. It's got a lot of convection associated with it, a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity, and is beginning to look a little bit better as it is starting to wrap up and get some of that deep tropical moisture rotated in on the northern side. And obviously I was looking into it pretty deep. Okay, all right, everybody, I am going to check. I don't see anything. All right, we are going to go ahead and cut it for tonight. Thankfully, we don't have a lot to talk about with the Atlantic Basin, but we'll be back again tomorrow night. Regardless, we're live. It doesn't matter what's in the basin. We're live every night until Halloween, and that will be at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, and here on Facebook and YouTube. I mean, that's pretty much it. We're going to be here every night regardless of what the development percentage is out there. If there's nothing on the models, then I don't know. Who knows? We'll figure out something to talk about. Even if we've got to go play into the polar regions or jump down and just go start checking random weather locations in like southern Africa or something, who the hell knows? I'll come up with something, I'm sure. So I could always get lost in the weather somewhere. So, all right, everybody, have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow night. Good night. Oh, wait. I am not signing off just yet. I just saw it. I'm sorry, Henry. Let me see here. Maybe the peak of hurricane season is moving into later in the year. The season on whole seems to be getting a little bit later. You know, this year has been very, very interesting because of the fact that we've been in a Enso neutral conditions throughout the season. But it has seemed more like, and a couple of, myself and a few of our team members, we've been discussing this at great length, especially recently now that we don't have much for tropical cyclone activity in peak season, that it kind of seems like this has been a little bit more of an El Nino esque style Atlantic basin. I mean, I in the beginning of the season, I watched the MJO fall flat on its face in Phase 7 multiple times before it actually crossed into the Atlantic Basin. I think it was 3, 4 times in a row that as soon as it come up to Phase 7, it would just fall, completely collapse, and then rebuild back on the other side in Phase 3. And it really kept us out of the loop there in the beginning part of the season. Granted, we had a few homegrowns, but nothing that was, reminiscent of like what we had with Barrel or anything like that. Like there was nothing really, really significant in the beginning part of the season. Now we've had Aaron, but the thing that really gets me is that we're in a La Nina watch right now. Well, we've had multiple major hurricanes in the Central Pacific, and if you guys really want to look, let me bring this out here to the Central Pacific. The anomalies, we've got them here. Now, that's just the sea surface temperature anomalies. We will bring up the actual water temperatures. Maybe. Are you going to show up? Okay, let's try this again. Come on. There we go. So, as you can see, there is a decent amount of, waters right here that would support tropical cyclone development. Of course, we're running in between like 15, 16 degrees north. But then look when we get to the equator down here. Look here. Look all into this region down here. Now, you would think that this would instill a little bit of stable air, cool cloud, just something as it is trailing up to meet the intertropical convergence zone and the air mass that is coming down where they collide. This is where, basically we get all of our shower and thunderstorm activity. Now, why this hasn't really had much of an impact this year? Yeah, I don't know. Because we watched Juliet track right through this, track north of Hawaii, track right through this area, and there for a few days. Hell, I thought I was going to have to start doing something for Alaska, for God's sakes. And I'm not going to lie to you, Kiko, don't you start. And Sammy, when you hear this, sit down. Just sit down. I don't need any rain dances, some kind of magic, whatever the hell you pull to create rain and cause things to happen. You just sit. No, we don't want any of that. But it's really been a weird season. It's quite mysterious, honestly. I mean, as you can see, this entire region, it's cooler than normal. I mean, it just couldn't tell you, folks. Couldn't tell you exactly why this year has behaved this way. I've got hypotheses, but I don't have no solid answer. I don't. Not yet. I've got quite a few hypotheses, but not a solid answer. Oh, you're very welcome, Henry. You're very welcome. Yep, Sammy was being called out. It doesn't matter. I'll catch it in chat later, regardless what happens. All right, everybody. With that, I am going to go ahead and sign off tonight. We'll be back again tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central here on YouTube and Facebook. So have a wonderful evening, everybody. We'll talk to you then. Good night.